Okay, after a month of wishing each other Shana Tova, Shana Tova Tikra Sevu, Shana Tova Umasuka, have an easy fast, be inscribed in the book of life, enjoy the festival of Sukkot, Chag Sameach. We're back to Good Shabbos. That's what we're preparing for. And we get back to our regular Parsha previews covering the Torah portion of the week, which this week happens to be Bereishit. We begin at the very beginning. And in beginning at the very beginning, we look at the story of Bereishit, of creation. In 6 days it was created, and then Adam and Eve, and then the problem with the snake, the problem with their children. But the reality is, nothing we read really affects us to this day. In other words, there are no laws, there are no commandments. We can learn lessons. But there's one sentence that has had a profound effect on the Jewish people. It's a sentence right at the beginning of creation, where God creates the heavens and the earth, and he says, Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Voker, Yom Echad. After each day of creation, we read, and it was evening, and it was morning. It was that day. And our sages took note of the fact that it first says evening and then says morning, to teach us that our day begins at night. Unlike the Roman calendar operates on noon being the center of everything. And so you cut that in half and you come to midnight. That's the way the secular calendar operates its days and nights, not us. Indeed, the first questions asked in the Talmud, the first question is, what time can we read the Shema for Shacharis? In other words, when does the day begin? And the answer is, it begins the night before. Now, the question then is, when does night begin? There were differences of opinion. Some said when the sun set. Others said when the stars come out, a difference of about 42 minutes. And in the morning, there was also a difference of opinion. When does the morning start? Does it start at sunrise? Or does it start at a different time, affecting when you can actually really see and be able to read the prayer book? And so, with the question being, when does the day start? It starts at night. What time at night? Some say sunset, some say when the stars come out. When do we start Shabbos? Do we start it at sunset or when the stars come out? When do we end Shabbos? At sunset or when the stars come out? So, just to make sure we don't get it wrong, we start Shabbos at sunset, the earlier time, and we end Shabbos when the stars come out, the later time, just to make sure we have everything covered. And just to make sure we have everything covered, we start Shabbos 18 minutes before sunset, referred to as Tosfos Shabbos, just to add on, to be careful, or to show that we're excited about Shabbos coming. Bottom line, you should know, candle lighting is 18 minutes before sunset. Shabbos ends 42 minutes after sunset when the stars come out. So if you want to make any sense out of this, you look at your calendar, whatever time it says it's candle lighting time, 1 hour later, 18 minutes plus the 42 is when Shabbos ends. Get it? Now comes the big question. Why do we start at night? Why do we start a day at night? And I saw an interesting explanation from a Rabbi Pinney Dunner out in California. And he says as follows: at night, we're at the mercy of the elements. There's no light, there's no resources. It's just you and God. However, if you can make it through the night, then you got it made. And we had one of our forefathers who made it through the night. Our forefather Yaakov, Jacob, fled from his brother who was trying to kill him. And it says he stopped at a place and he put his head down to sleep. And he saw angels moving up and down a ladder. And he said, how awesome is this place, Ein Zeki in Basilikim, the house of God. We have a tradition that that's the spot where the temple was eventually built. But it's because of Yaakov and his prayers at night that we daven Ma'ariv at night. And we are always reminded that in the darkest times, if you have faith, you can make it to the morning and it will be bright again. Look at Yaakov. He had one son who tried to upset Yaakov's married life. Shimon and Levi wiped out the people of Shechem. Yehuda almost killed his son's wife. And all of them tried to get rid of Yosef. But in the darkest times, Yaakov had a light shining for him. And he looked forward to the morning when things would be better. And so our lesson for today is, when it's dark, have faith. Morning eventually comes. This is in our personal lives. This is in our collective lives. I was struck in connecting all this. I read the magazine Foreign Affairs, and in their centennial issue, they have dark with a little light, referring to it as the age of uncertainty. We are living through times that future is not clear, but there's that little light, and it gives us hope for the morning. On that note, with a full heart, I finally, after a month, get to say to all of you, Shabbat Shalom, or to some of you, Shabbos.